That's music to my ears, Lyle.
It is me too. It does nothing except bring out the real James Dockery and all of us. We want to welcome everybody. It is me. We want to welcome everybody to Panfish Weekly. Mark, we got a great guest tonight. We're going to have some fun. We're already having some fun. We get. I took a pretty good beating over on the bait shop tonight with Dockery and Chad and you know I'm nothing but nice to them guys. I don't know why they do me that way.
I have no clue.
I would not do that to either one of them guys.
I'm a witness to how good you are to those two, and then they just walk all over you, man. It's ridiculous.
In the mornings when we're being nice, they call me Dad, and in the afternoons they do me this way. It's embarrassing. It really is. But you know, boys will be boys, and James Dockery will be James Dockery.
He absolutely will.
I can't say nothing else about him. Welcome, everybody. We're going to have a great show tonight. We're just having a little fun with those guys. We got Darin Keim on the show with us tonight. He is a crappie fishing magician from Lake of the Ozarks and absolutely tears them up. He's been a little under the weather, but welcome to the show tonight, Darin.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I know that you have been down with illnesses for a while, but man, oh man, when last summer and last fall, you was absolutely destroying crappie up there at the lake.
Yeah, we sneak up on some dumb ones once in a while, so.
But no, here's to the dumb ones.
We have fun with them, though. It's fun to get on them, get after them.
What's your favorite way of catching crappie?
Absolutely, hands down, shooting docks.
I knew most that's what it was, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have to come up there and you're going to have to give me a lesson on that. We had Mike Baker on last week, and he was talking about shooting docks and long lining and several other things, but I knew most that shooting docks was your favorite way, and man, you've really been successful. You caught some giant crappie out of there last year.
Yep. That Lake of the Ozarks is really, probably one of the most underrated fisheries in the United States, just all around, man. And, the crappie fishing is just, there's so much structure. We got about 27,000 docks on Lake of the Ozarks. So, there's plenty of targets for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what other kind of structure do you target crappie on up there? I know there's lots of trees and stuff that's been submerged.
I tell you what, we like big shot rock banks, pre-spawn fish and stuff like that, staging on them, points. There's a lot of good points, and this time of year, if we didn't have all this ice, if you catch an afternoon that's got a little southwest wind blowing up on a point, man, you can really get on some good fish up shallow, in 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 inches of water up there, and they're very easy to, you can duplicate that pattern all over the lake when you get that weather like that.
That's awesome. Now, I know Mark's got a bunch of questions for you. He's a big crappie guy. I'm not as much, but before I turn it over to him, I want to ask you, how good is the bluegill fishing actually on the lake?
The bluegill fishing, if you know what you're doing, is very good. There are some absolute giants that can be caught on these bluffs in the summertime.
That's what I like.
Yep. And I tell you, in the summertime, a lot, I'll get off work or something in the evening. You just need to relax a little bit. And I'll take a 12-foot jigging pole and just take a bobber and a worm and just get in behind these docks and drop that bobber and that worm in behind them docks. And sometimes it's a 5-pound catfish. Sometimes it's a 4 or 5 pound bass, or, who knows what you're going to catch. But it's just really fun to to get back in there and just anything that'll pull, we'll pull back.
That's what we like to hear.
We'll get back with you in just a little bit. I want you to tell everybody about your boat, but I know Mark, he just can't wait to ask you some questions.
Let's go, Mark.
So I understand Lake of the Ozarks is frozen over, correct? How are those docks doing after all that?
We have quite a bit of dock damage, I'm thinking. The main channels A lot of guys showing some pictures there. We're starting to get some open water, on the bigger water where the wind can blow on a little bit and warm it up some. A lot of the back of the coves and stuff like that are still froze up. My buddy Matt Sutcliffe up at Bear Bottom Resort there, he cut some 4 or 5 inches of ice around docks at his place today. So we still got a ways to go, but so far, I mean, it kind of looks like maybe with the channel melting out the way it is, maybe we're not going to have these big chunks floating around tearing up stuff. If we thaw it out and get them back in the water,
that's good.
People, that they get their docks back and not have too much trouble.
I know there's a lot of docks on that lake. It's incredible how many there are. So, I mean, there's bound to be some damage.
Yep.
All right. So I guess my question about ice and all this, how are you going to go after them as soon as the ice is thawed up enough for you to get on the water? What's your tactics for that?
I tell you, probably. And again, like I said, I've not fished for, since the middle of December, but before it iced up, a lot of guys were chasing them with a live scope out in the middle of the creeks and either casting to them or jigging them and picking out a solo fish and catch them like that. So, probably start there. And, I like to hang around these main lake points on these big docks over deep water. And, those docks seem like they consistently hold fish year round. And I just, I'm kind of stubborn and I don't do enough to expand my fishing, but I won't leave fish to find fish. So, like I said, we'll start on them main lake points on them big docks and stuff like that, and then just kind of see what the fish tell us to do.
Absolutely. When you're shooting docks, are you skipping your baits underneath there, or are you actually shooting them, slingshotting them under? I
mean, a lot of them depends on what it is, because with a lot of the boat lifts and stuff like that, you got cross arms and stuff like that. So a lot of them you have to skip it under and bounce it 2 or 3 times to get it back in there. If you got an open shot down some dock floats, I mean, obviously the farther you can get it back there before it hits the water, the farther back in there you're going to get it. But, it just, and, kind of like me, however I can get it back in there, that's what we try to do.
Any means necessary, right?
Right. That's exactly right.
I'm not even going to kid around. I'm terrible at dock skipping, or a dock shooting. I plan on working on that a little bit this year. But I do better in boat lifts with cross members for some reason. I don't know why that is, but I found out that I definitely find more fish if I fish those ramps with the cross members. So
absolutely, they like to hang out. Anything to orient to as far as structure stuff like that. I mean, they like that. I don't know whether it's a protection or the game fish hang around it, the bait fish hang around it, or whatever. But you take that practicing, man. Get out there in your garage and raise your garage door up 3 or 4 inches and practice shooting underneath.
That's a good idea. I might actually. That's the first time I heard that. I might actually do that.
That or get you a cinder block and practice shooting in the holes through a cinder block on it.
One thing at a time. Let's not get carried away. One thing at a time. But I'd like to get that good someday.
That's what the goal is. So
I know we had Mike Baker on here last week, real nice guy, and he was talking about getting them underneath between those styrofoam floats and stuff, and I was like, man, if I could get that good, I'd be a heck of a lot better. So I got some goals for this year, definitely.
Well, my nemesis are the ones where they put the carpet down about 3 inches above the water.
Really?
And you drive by with the side scan, and it's just loaded up with big old crappie, but that's your nemesis, man. It's trying to get in underneath that stuff.
So do they do that on purpose to keep you from shooting under the docks, or?
I don't know. It's more for rubbing boats.
Rubbing, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Very cool.
I mean, very rarely do you see anybody set something up to kind of hamper a fisherman, stuff like that. Most of them are pretty cool people.
Do you have any river experience? We got a question here from someone who fishes rivers. Or do you just pretty much fish the lake over there in Lake of the Ozarks?
I am pretty much a Lake of the Ozarks fisherman guy.
Okay. And you
experience on the river, but not much crappie.
Okay, he says, what would be a good starting point for finding sac-a-lait, crappie, in a swift and deep river?
Brush.
Can you help him with that?
Brush.
Structure? Mm-hmm.
Yep, find some brush. That's where I would start. I mean, I'm sure there's some river guys that, maybe a place where anywhere where there's maybe not as much current or something like that. But when all else fails, find a brush.
Betty Jean Cross is asking for some tips for. She says best advice for someone trying to learn dock shooting and how not to shoot your jig into the next county. You did mention the garage door and the cinder block; those are good tips.
Yeah.
Anything else you can share with her?
Start out in the yard shooting at a soda can, or just anything. Like I said, one thing that I do, and I don't honestly know that anybody else does it, or and some guys are picking it up, but most guys shoot docks with a spinning reel, and I use a Pfluger President trigger spin, and it just really simplifies things. There's no bail to flip, there's no, it just, all you got to do, reel it up that first eye, squeeze that trigger, pull her back, shoot it, and let go of that trigger. I mean, and they usually are really a slow retrieve, which slows your bait down under the dock, which I believe, the longer you keep that bait in that strike zone, the better off you are.
So it's a low gear ratio reel. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Like I said, it's just it's a Pfluger President, and I use a 6-pound Vicious or Suffix high vis line, and like I said, and
good choices. I love that Suffix high vis, man.
What's that?
I love that Suffix high vis. I'm real happy with that stuff.
Yeah, it and Vicious both are great lines.
Very cool. And you said it was a Pfluger Presidential trigger spin. I'm definitely going to look that up.
Yep, it's a dark blue reel with a black face on it, and they're about $40, and they're just a very, very simple, tough reel.
Very cool.
And you can, most stores carry them. I mean, Academy Sports and some different places like that. You can pick them up about anywhere. But they just, again, anything that a guy uses to catch fish, that's what works, and that's good. And but that is that's been a simple way for me to do it, and I try to keep it simple.
Whenever I go fishing with somebody who wants to get into crappie fishing, they always ask me how fast to retrieve, and I tell them retrieve is slow. Well, retrieve so slow it almost hurts. Is that not that's a good explanation, isn't it?
Yeah, and even not retrieving when you're when docks, kind of drop it back in there and just kind of jig it a little bit, Sometimes, sometimes that fish is going to be, as soon as it hits the water, he's going to hit it. Sometimes if they're a little farther down the water column, you may have to let it fall, a 25 or a 30 count to get down to them. Just kind of, and sometimes they want it slow. Sometimes they want it dead stick, just held right there in their face and not
sometimes.
And then sometimes it don't matter what you do, they're going to tear it up. So, again, try to, and I know this probably doesn't help much, but, you'll become a much better crappie fisherman if you kind of let the fish dictate to you what they want instead of, I was always guilty about, man, that looks like a great spot. And I'd fish it and fish it and fish it and fish it and not catch anything. And then, as electronics get a little better or whatever, you drive by there, these places you're beating up, there ain't a fish there at any time during the year, but it looks good. And then you'll take a dock that you just, out of your whim, I'm going to run down and look at this dock. And you've been driving by it for 5 years, and it's loaded up with crappies. So
crappies. It's funny where you find them. Eric Massey, Jig Company, he's a good guy. He's a good follower of the channel. He wants to know how you deal with waves when you're shooting docks.
Makes it tough.
Timing, probably, right?
What's that?
Try to get the timing down?
Yeah. And sometimes you just have to go find something else or go back in a cove and find a dock that's kind of just back out of the channel, The best advice I got for that is get up and get out early before the big boats get out and get your fish caught before it's or late in the evening or whatever. But waves can be a challenge.
I'm not sure what Steve is saying. He says, "Can you talk ratios and arbor size?" But I'm not sure what he's
talking about. The spinning reels, about what kind of ratios they have.
Spinning reels. I know what he's talking about. The arbor size. the bigger arbor reels are better for shooting docks because the line comes off of it better. And I think you probably on your spinning reel, if you use a little bigger auger than like some of the micro spins, I think you see less line
with the taller bail on it. If you're looking at
you're not cranking that line in such a tight radius, So and getting them close to full too. Anything you can do to reduce the resistance of that line coming off that arbor is going to help you with your distance.
Absolutely. And also another note to that is the in a cast, the less change in directions your line needs to take from back and forth, the better you're going to be too. But that's really getting that's getting a little carried away, but that's how I look at things. So,
well, and there's some technology too. There's it's called an airwave guide, and it's actually a full-size spinning guide, but then it's got a micro guide in the center of it. And there's some merit to that, getting that big loop out of that line, especially.
Yep.
You wouldn't think it would make a difference, but it does.
I thought it would hinder it until I had my first experience with him. And the owner of the company, I'm not going to mention the rod company, me and him got in an argument back and forth. He's like, Mark, just try it. I did. I had to call him back and apologize. I felt pretty bad about that.
Yeah, it look weird. But I do believe there's something to it, though.
I agree 100%. So hopefully that answers his question. So what kind of, when you're shooting docks, how using a standard jig head weight, or are you changing like you would anything else?
I'm a 1/16 round head 99% of the time. It's just I know how it falls. I know how it behaves underneath the water. Again, probably kind of a stubborn fisherman, because I know some guys that will switch down to a 32nd on a maybe a slower bite or whatever. And I'm probably guilty if I'm not getting them out there on that 16th, I'll probably load it up and go and watch a ball game or something like that. So,
well, you're fishing a heck of a lot deeper water. I mean, if I'm looking for them and I'm downsizing, I'm looking at 7 feet of water. If you're fishing, you were saying what, 20, 30 feet of water sometimes?
I tell you, a lot of my favorite water to fish is probably 12 to 20, 22 foot of water.
Yeah.
Right out on them points in the main lake docks and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But no, like I said, I just kind of just went with the 16th, and like I said, and generally I don't even have anything else in the box, so I'm kind of times, but that's just kind of what I do.
Very cool. And and cut that in half with like a 30-second ounce jig. It would take forever for it to get down to the depths you need. So just so
and again too, on a light bite, there's some merit to that. That goes back to keeping that bait in that strike zone as long as you can. You want to give that fish as much of an opportunity as you can to decide to say, hey, that's something I want to eat. So that's they're not throwing any shade in that direction. They're
absolutely
when that's the way to go.
Well, Lyle had some boat questions.
Yeah, I seen your boat, Darin, and it's an amazing boat. I thought you'd like to tell everybody that's watched the show about it, just simply because everybody don't get to see a boat like that every day, and they sure don't get to fish out of one like that.
Well, about a year and a half ago, we started looking, and the Ranger guys, Randy Hopper and Keith Deckman and all the guys, they got back together after they sold the Ranger stuff, and they producing the Vexus line of boats, which is just, again, I'm very proud of it. But they're just an incredible boat. Everybody knows what those guys, what kind of a boat they're capable of producing. They've been producing a great boat for years and years and years, and there's just this Vexus line is just loaded with technology, and fit and finish is second to none. And like here on Lake of the Ozarks, where it's pretty rough, I've got it's an 1880. It's 18 foot 10 inches long, and it really, really runs well in this rough water.
And how big a motor do you have on that boat?
about 115 horse Evinrude E-Tech, the Gen 2. And it's about a 51 mile an hour boat, which for what I do is plenty fast. I know a lot of guys like to run 70 and 80 or whatever, and
Even faster.
or faster. Exactly. But you know, most of the time I do most of my fishing within 4 or 5 miles of my ramp, and I can fish for I can fish for a week and a half on a tank of gas, and we got her loaded up with Humminbird and Garmin stuff, and it just really, really works well on a crappie around here.
Well, now, when you started talking about Humminbird and Garmin, that brings us into another subject. You know, I'm a big Humminbird guy, but Mark and I visited with Mike last week
Yep.
about Humminbird and mostly Garmin.
I'm a Garmin guy, by the way.
Yeah, he is. And I had some questions about it, so I started checking them out a little bit, even past what we had discussed with him. And this morning, Mark and I and James and was on a chat, and we're discussing, well, how bad we need that Garmin, you know. So maybe you can enlighten us a little bit more about what you think about them and how important they've become to people catching more fish.
First off, I want to quantify something that the boat I'm running now is pretty much state of the art, whatever, but it wasn't always that way.
Right.
Just a year and a half ago, I fished out of a 17-foot John boat with a 60 horse Evinrude on it. And I started out with a 5-inch Humminbird on it. And that was kind of how I got started into shooting docks, was Terry Blankenship, which probably the best crappie fisherman on Lake of the Ozarks. I mean, and one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and is just very, very free with information. We was working, getting my Humminbird set up, and he shot back underneath the dock and pulled out, just pulling them out. I'm like, hey, what's this? And that's kind of the monster that created the monster of the dock. That was something like, that's pretty stinking cool, man.
Yeah.
So, no, Terry is just, you know, we're not around each other a lot, but I tell you what, when Terry's talking, I'm listening. And if anybody ever gets a chance to be around him, ask the questions, or if he's talking, just shut up and listen, because, you know, he doesn't say an awful lot, but when he says something, you know, it's worth listening to. So, excuse me.
No problem.
I'm a Humminbird guy, and I always have been. I got high hopes for the new Mega Live that they just released and showed the transducer today, which is you know, kind of the live stuff that goes around the Garmin there. But the live scope is really an interesting piece of technology, and it's become quite a polarizing discussion. You know, when you start talking to guys about it, you know, they say, well, it's not fishing, or, you know, I mean, and again, I've only been crappie fishing about 10 years, but I think they probably said that about when the first fish finders come out, and then
I agree.
They did.
And then when the 360 come out. And so it is an incredible tool, but I will also say it's probably the most frustrating $3,000 you'll ever spend.
I've heard that too.
And there's a pile of them there, and you drop a jig down there and they won't touch it. You want to kick the whole thing off in the water and pick up knitting, because you know they're there and you can't do nothing with them. And just, what have I spent my money on? So, but no, it is. I run a Mega 360 Humminbird with it too, which is a great piece. Shooting docks. I primarily use the live scope for finding depth, and then the Mega 360, you know, for position on dock, stuff like that. They're just an awesome combination together. You know, it does create the ability to target big fish. I mean, that's no there's no doubt about that. And guys are catching more fish, and guys are catching bigger fish. You know, do we need to be putting them 2-pounders back? Absolutely. You know, I'd be lying if I said I never cut a 1.5 pound fish. You know, I like to eat crappie, and them big slabs are good blackened on that Blackstone griddle. You know.
Oh yeah, they are. Now you're talking.
But I tell you, honestly, for me, I think the Missouri Department of Conservation is hands down the best in the business in managing our resources.
I agree.
And I believe that they are on top of the game. And, you know, I think guys need to fish and let the biologists deal with the fish population. And, you know, and like I said, again, I encourage you catch a 2-pound crappie. I mean, again, if a guy cuts a 2-pound crappie, that's his decision. He's well within the legal limit and well within his right to eat that fish or mount that fish, or, you know, and we get into this discussion with catfish and stuff like that too. You know, I mean, if a guy harvests a fish legally,
that's it.
Then
that's the key word.
That's legally and ethically, then man, that's your business.
That's right.
I'm not going to get involved in that. You know, I have my opinion, and I'm getting better about keeping that to myself.
Well, absolutely.
You know, I've been on the both sides of that for a long time, and I've been on both sides. Really, I've actually been on both sides.
Sure,
and I can see where it comes from both. Now, I never keep a big fish, and it's hard for me to keep any flathead because I love them things. But if you catch one, it is yours. If I catch a big one, which I've got a giant channel cat that I caught, at some point I'm going to have a replica made of it. Right. And I turned it back. We got all the measurements and everything off. But if I catch a big blue, I might do that. The only issue is them replicas are really, really expensive.
They're proud of them.
Yeah.
But if you weigh that versus that fish still swimming.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely right.
You know,
it gets to pass that gene along.
Yep.
We like to push responsible harvest. Use your head, people. You know, think about what you're doing. The little ones don't taste much different than the big ones. Catch two little ones and put the big one back.
Yep. You know,
that's
and
the way
like
we look at it.
I don't even like I said again, I'd be lying if I said I didn't cut a pound fish. You know, like I said, but a 2-pound fish, that fish is, I'm gonna take some pictures. You know, I'm gonna get on Facebook. I'm gonna beat my chest a little bit.
Heck yeah, man.
Put her back in the water, and we're gonna go on. You know,
absolutely.
I'm still trying to heal up from them times when you was getting them 3/4 pounders and getting just lines of them where you was catching them. I couldn't believe that. You was some kind of thing going on over there where you was catching fish for last year. I don't remember what it was now.
Yep. Yeah. We last year was, and I tell you what, the Lake of the Ozarks crappie took a beating last year with the COVID, man.
Yeah. Well, everybody didn't have nothing to do.
Yeah. Yep. So, but no, it was a good year, you know, and the fall, you know, it's a great time to fish. And actually right now till the middle of March into March is my favorite time to fish.
Well, maybe
mine too.
A little bit because we're not used to getting the ice and the extreme cold here that we had the last couple of weeks. Now, it's been beautiful the last 3 or 4 days here, but we still got to get all that ice away so me and you can get up there and do some fishing because there ain't no boats. There ain't no boats going in no boat ramps that I'm aware of right now.
Yeah.
Ask maybe Chad and the River Warriors over there. They might be in there.
They're down in there where men are men and chickens are running scared.
Betty has another question. She wants to know if you enjoy targeting any other species of fish, Darin.
I tell you what, I love to chase blue cats with jug lines with the kids. You know, I showed you that video the other day of my son and his buddy, and I tell you what, man, you want to get a kid hooked on fishing, take him out there and put 10 or 15 jugs out there and get a 25 or 30 pound blue cat on there and let them stand back. Don't let them get hurt, but stand back and let them figure it out.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like 20 bobbers floating around with big fish on the end of them. How can they not love it, right?
Well,
The thing is, Lake Ozark and Truman's so full of small fish that it's the greatest way to keep kids entertained and get them turned up on fishing, because there's not that much idle time. They're just with hot dogs and bait like that. They're just constantly going down.
Yep. Get you some sodas and some chips and a sandwich, and go out there and just not be too serious about any of it. And I'm probably guilty of that even about my crappie fishing a little bit. I mean, it's fun, man. I'm generally not a tournament fisherman. People ask why. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I absolutely hate 5 a.m.
Amen. I'm with you.
If there was a crappie series that was from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., count me in. But like I said, I don't know.
All right. Let's talk a little more about electronics. All right, we talked about the live scope and the Humminbird version of it.
Right.
I know a lot of people here in chat, they do have side imaging. What's the best way about going about using, let's say, what's available to us at this time being side image when you're going by docks? What are you looking for? How do you pick the docks you're looking at? How fast are you going? Whatever you can do to help.
Most of my side scanning is on docks. You're trying to stay, 20, 25 feet back off that dock. And you're just flat looking for fish, because they stick out like a sore thumb, very easy to spot. One thing I have kind of changed the fishing style in the last few years is looking for the biggest school of crappie I could find. You pull in there, catch a couple off of it, and they quit, I've really started to look for schools of fish of 6, 8, 10 fish, and they seem to be bigger fish, and they seem to be more catchable fish. You pull in I can show you pictures of docks that's got 200, 300 crappie on it, and they're impressive to look at, but there's an awful lot of eyes there, taking your buddy off the bar seat next to you. You're eating, but no, just targeting smaller schools, boat control. One thing is another big thing is watching your prop wash on your trolling motor. Trolling motors have gotten bigger, and you pull up to a dock, come in there hot, and you have to spin that trolling motor around, face that dock, and bump it to keep from hitting the dock or whatever. You've killed that bite. You blow a big puff of water in that fish's face, he's probably done. So, just attention to detail on that kind of stuff. But no, and it's a lot of it's trial and error too. It's just there's absolutely no substitute for time on the water. I try to read everything I can about crappie. I try to talk to everybody I can. When I get around to, it's one thing I've never been shy about is asking questions. And
I'm the same way.
One thing about Lake of the Ozarks, there is such a large number of great fishermen down here that can really, really shorten the learning curve. And not just for crappie fishing, the crappie guys, but bass fishermen. A lot of that stuff them guys are doing that applies. Guys like Dion Hibden, he told a story. We talk about brush and stuff like that, and a lot of guys that go put out the biggest brush pile they can put out. He talks about putting out one log with one limb on it that holds one fish, and it's going to be a 4-pound, 5-pound, 6-pound bass. And when he pulls up to it, either that bass is there or somebody's already got him, and he just talks a lot about how the bigger fish don't like the competition for food. Back to the big school stuff, a big fish is not going to lay in a school of 108-inch crappie, fight them for a minnow. He's going to go out by himself where one swims by. He doesn't have to fight 100 people to eat. So
that's probably why he's the size he is, correct?
Excuse me. Yeah. Yep. And again, like I said, there's Terry Blankenship, Jack Uxa, Jim Dill, Terry Blankenship, Rob Reeves, Ken Miller, Eric Webster. There's just, Billy Don Surface, Marshall Albertson. I mean, there's just there are so many good anglers around Lake of the Ozarks that if a guy's not reaching out to them guys or getting around them guys and listening and watching and paying attention and asking questions, because all them guys will help you, and that's one thing that people think a lot of these guys, they're not approachable. And, I'm way down on the list of even good fishermen at Lake of the Ozarks. And I get a lot of messages, and, we just need to be responsible when the fishermen are coming up, help them everything, don't, like we was talking about earlier, you don't have to have a $40,000 boat with $30,000 electronics to catch crappie. By the time that crappie realizes he's riding a John boat and not in an $80,000 rig, it's too late for him. Decision and his fate's pretty much sealed. So, like I said, just be a good student of the game, and you can really, really learn a lot by listening.
I agree 100%. Just like anything else, start somewhere as long as you start, whether it's in a rowboat, a canoe, a kayak. If that's where you want to stop, that's where you stop. You want to grow, keep growing. That's the way you got to do it.
Boats and fishes, there's a lot of guys here, say you want to get into electronics and start learning that stuff. There's a bunch of YouTube stuff, but, hire Terry Blankenship to come hop in your boat with you and spend 2 hours with you in your boat. And I'm telling you what, man, you can learn more with a couple hours with guys like that than you can years of experience.
Is he a guide?
This stuff like that's just a good investment.
Is he a guide out there on Lake of the Ozarks?
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
Okay, good.
He's Hummingbird Pro staff, incredible dock shooter, and just super, super, super nice guy. Just as good as they come.
I'll keep that in mind. We're planning on making a trip out there, me and the wife. So we actually had plans to hit the Bass Pro Shops resort, and that kind of got cut off. So anyways, I'll make sure I know that. How about you, Lyle? You want to ask some questions? I feel like I'm taking control of our guest here.
Enjoying the show, man. Like I say, I enjoy crappie because I like to eat them. I like to catch bluegill nearly as much as catfish. And this year it may be more so since I had that shoulder surgery, and I'm not going to be able to horse them big cats over the side. But a 2-pound crappie, I can probably handle that. I'm on a 5-pound restriction. Yep. I'm good.
There's a question that comes to my mind is, how often are you finding bluegills mixed in with crappie and vice versa?
Not a lot.
Not a lot? Okay.
Not a lot. Now we find bass mixed in with them. You'll pitch
bass are eating them.
3-pound bass on the foot, and you think, man, I got him now. And you roll him up, and it's bass, and that's kind of disappointing. But I mean, like I said again, if it pulls, we'll pull back. So
that's right. I got a question that I want to know, and I hear so many of these crappie fishermen talk about 10 and 12 and 14-foot rods. What kind and what length rods are you using, Darin?
Right now, we started off with the little 3'6" ugly sticks, and we kind of moved through and whatever. And right now, I'm really having good luck with a 6-foot or a 7 or 6'6" or a 7-foot medium fast St. Croix bass rod.
Really?
That's what I've been, and just kind of
you're wanting something stiffer than what the average crappie rod is?
Well, I tell you, and for casting, I still use a medium light fast action rod, but for the docks, I mean, you get him back in there and he's back on the other side of a stiff arm or a cable or something like that. You got to pull him out or break it off or whatever. And excuse me, everything is going. The crappie equipment has changed so much in the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, you got a lot of guys stepping up and using 12-pound braid. You got a lot of guys using 2/0 and 3/0 hooks, crop fish, stuff like that. I still use a number 2, but I mean, everything has just gotten so much bigger. Well, and even like with the live scope, Caps and Coleman, Ronnie Caps, them guys, they just started using like a 25-foot dipping rod, and
25-foot rod.
25, 26-foot rod. Yeah.
Wow.
Out there with the live scope, trying to stay as far away from the fish as they possibly can. Most of the guys are using 12-foot dipping rods or 14-foot rods, but it just keeps getting bigger. The equipment keeps getting heavier, and
if you am I thinking about this wrong? If you had a 20-foot rod, you would need to shoot the dock. You could just stick that pole right in there and drop. Is that what they're doing?
And those guys are they're not shooting dock. They're
vertical
pole and jigging with live scope.
Okay.
What they're doing, but yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple of 12-foot rods, and if it's just a situation where I can't get a jig in there, I'll absolutely pull that out and dip right straight down on top of him, and where there's a will, there's a way, I guess.
Hit him on the head and get him mad.
Absolutely, get something in there he'll eat. But,
do you think that you make them so mad or just aggravate them enough that they'll bite?
I think at times you can create that kind of a strike.
I'll take it.
Yeah, they just, I don't know. They got to get it out, whatever. But I mean, even in the spring, there's a lot of reaction bites, and then even especially during the spawn, and you got the males up on the nest. They don't want anything around that nest. So man, you could throw, guys, that's what they're biting. I'm like, man, scrape whatever's stuck in the bottom of your boat and throw it up there and get rid of that because they're eating it. So
yeah,
it's
awesome. I'm looking forward to them days.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're not long off,
No.
But I tell you what, guys, this bite this time of year and them crappie are so much better eating 40-degree water than they are out of that 70-degree water. I mean,
and they're good then.
It's a different. Well, it's like a catfish out of cold water.
Yeah,
they're just they're different.
Much better.
Yep.
A lot more firmer, better taste, and the water's a lot clearer. They're not breeding mud all the time.
Absolutely. But I'll take them in that 70-degree water any day.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not turning them down.
No. Nope.
Oh,
so when you're picking baits, are you looking at color, silhouette, size? How do you manage that? What's your go-to methodology for selecting baits?
Anybody that knows me knows that if I'm casting, I've got a chartreuse and a monkey milk and chartreuse Strike King Slavalicious on there. It's a paddle tail bait with a 16th ounce pink head.
Did you say chartreuse and monkey's milk combined? I got to look that up.
Milk and chartreuse. Yeah. Well, let's dig one out here. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Those are like two of my go-to colors. I've never seen them together.
I don't know if you guys can see that. We'll get close to the camera there.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Paddle tail.
Oh, I have seen those little paddle tails. Yeah, I like those.
I personally think that's the best clear water bait that's ever been made. There's guys that'll argue that. Shooting docks, like at Lake of the Ozarks, the Bobby Garland Purple Mist, albino shad, blue ice is probably the number one color at Lake of the Ozarks in the clear water. Just a lot of natural colors, and there's a lot of guys pouring some smaller local guys that are pouring just some incredible baits too. So check those guys out as well. But like I said, I've got a million other colors, but both of them are just there to ride around the boat. So
yeah, I know the feeling. I really do know the feeling. I got my go-to colors, and those are the ones I end up buying over and over again every year. So,
well, and you know what? I think that there's a lot of different colors that work, and you can get on a forum and you can ask what's the best color ever made, and there'll be 100 different guys swear that their bait is the best bait that's ever been, thrown into crappie water. And I have to say they are absolutely correct, because their bait is what they fish the best. It's what they have confidence in, and that's what they're going to be more diligent with. I'm guilty of, if I'm fishing with somebody and they catch a few and I'm not catching anything, I was like, hey, man, give me one of them. I'm not too proud on that kind of stuff. You grab one and you throw it a few times, like, oh, heck, this ain't working. I'm right back to what I do. So, yeah, colors matter, but, if you've got confidence in something, and that goes with anything, you're going to fish something that you've got confidence better than anything else. So, a lot of times colors catch fishermen. So
I think so. I've been hearing a lot of talk about actual silhouette size and size of baits having more of an effect on fish biting or not than colors do. Whether I believe that or not, I don't know. That might be something for you guys with live scope to tell me if it's true or not.
Here's the thing. If there was not something to some of that, we would never, ever fish anything but a minnow, because that's their natural food all the time. So in theory, there should be nothing better than a minnow-colored, minnow-shaped jig. But here we are. We've got 10,000 different colors and 27 different sizes, and most of them don't look like anything that's in the water. So
I've caught one fish on a minnow, and I know there's fish there because there usually is at that time of year. One fish, and I'm getting ready to quit. I'm like, let me try something else. I'll throw a plastic down there and I'll start slaying them. I can't figure it out why they do that or whatever, but
if they won't bite,
they do.
I'm not proud either, though. I'll throw a minnow on them in a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how many minnows do you take out with you when you go out on a day?
Most of the time I don't take any, unless we get into a situation where we need them. But like I said, usually I'm a jig fisherman, but, in the wintertime, or if we got the kids or something like that, man, we'll throw some minnows on there and just beat on them good.
Well, that's just like taking the hot dogs and the jugs out with the kids. Minnows and crappie go together like,
And you know what?
That jelly
thing is, when you take a fish, I try to tell guys, man, when you take your kids fishing, lay your rod down.
Let them catch the fish.
Leave it alone. Give them the undivided attention. And if they ain't biting, go home.
Play ball or something.
Do what you got to do to get these kids interested. I like a lot of times when I'm fishing, I got a ton of baits, and you'll go down alongside a row of docks and there'll be a kid sitting there fishing. If they're catching, if they're not, throw them some baits, what you've been catching them on.
Yeah.
And you want to make a friend with a dock owner or with a mom or a dad,
That's a good way of doing it.
That's absolutely right.
And that's our future of our sport.
I agree.
It ain't going to be very long till these kids that are fishing now, they're going to be making the decisions of what we do. And, heck, our kids are going to be picking our nursing home before long. So
that's 100% correct.
Some of us sooner than others. No comment.
So much for that.
Right. Be good stewards of your environment. Be respectful of people. And that's the big thing too. You got a lot of dock owners down here. They, while they don't own the water, they own that dock, and and this is another hot topic, I've always found that showing some respect, and, or if you got some people down there, say, hey, just ask, say, you want to see what's under your dock, and just have them hop on the boat and run around the dock real quick with your electronics and show them what's around it or whatever. It's just, just be a good representative of our sport.
We, Cindy and I was at the lake last year. I believe it was last spring, and we was dragging some baits down through there, and we come up on a couple of guys fishing off their dock.
Yep.
And we made a big swing out around them, so we didn't interfere with them.
Yep.
And the guy says, "What are you doing?" I says, "I'm trying not to hang up your lines." He said, "Hell, we don't care.
Yeah.
You can come up in here. We know there's catfish up in here. We're catching crappie. We won't bother us."
Yep.
I said, "Man, we just don't do that."
Yeah.
We just don't bother you. I said there's a lot of dock owners that take offense to that, and I said they own the dock, and we don't want to do anything to make them mad. I'm not catching their fish, but I might be catching their grandson's fish or something. He said, "Man, it don't make no difference. We want to see you catch one of them big ones." And as it turned out, we didn't, but it was nice enough for them to say that. Yeah.
And that's even, the same with another fisherman or something like that. If you pull into a cove and there's guys in there fishing, man, go on to another spot. There's no use to
That's right.
body or, just again, there's plenty of room for all of us to fish.
That's right.
Spread out and show some respect and and like I said, we all look bad if one person is out there doing the wrong thing, doing stupid stuff on the water.
That's correct, and it's not just on the water, Darin. It's on social media and everything else.
Yep, and that's what we talk about kind of when we get back into these heated discussions. I'll say about what we catch, what we don't catch, what we do, what we keep, what we this, what we that.
That's right,
and that all goes back to we all have our ideas of what proper conservation is and how things should be run, how things should be done. But at the end of the day, as long as you're fishing morally and ethically, that bag limit is there for a reason. And it's set by people. I say I know they're a lot smarter than I am. So,
me too. I agree with that.
I mean, a few years ago when the slot fish started there on Lake of the Ozarks, man, I growled and carried on, and I
was happy.
That's terrible, And I tell you what, a few years into it, you're really starting to, and like the 4-point restriction on the deer.
Yeah,
you really see the positive results of it. So I tend to yield that kind of stuff to the biologists and let them deal with it. And
that's a great analogy.
Follow the law. And have a good time with it.
Yep, I tried to tell people when they put that limit and slot limit on catfish, I said if you'll give it 5 years, just 5.
Yep.
And then if it doesn't make a noticeable difference, I'll heed that you was right.
Yep.
And I hear more people saying, you know what, it's been 3 years and I'm already seeing the difference.
Yep. And it takes a blue cat 12 years to go through that slot? About
pretty much, yeah, just about.
So
I've seen a difference here on the Fox River that I fish with the flatheads. They put a slot limit into effect, and it's made quite the difference. The fish are coming out a lot bigger and healthier.
It's kind of like the Missouri River with catfish, and they stopped all commercial fishing on the Missouri River.
Mm-hmm.
And once a summer, you would hear somebody catching a 90-pound catfish from mid-state to Kansas City. One or two a year was all you'd hardly ever catch, and now they're catching great numbers of them up in there every year.
Yep.
The west side of the state, you just didn't used to hear that.
Yep. And I mean, I'll be lying. I do wish they would move the link limit to 10 inches on crappie on Lake of the Ozarks, but I'm sure there's a reason why they have. It's got a lot to do with the mortality rate of fish that are caught. I mean, if you're catching a lot of 9-inch fish and you're putting them back and they're dying because they're gut hooked or for whatever reason, then you might as well keep that fish as part of your harbor. Yeah. But
so 10 inches the limit on Lake Ozark?
9 inches.
9 inches.
9
inches is like
15 a day.
15 a day. Now, is it the same on Truman and Pomme de Terre?
Truman, it is. I would not speak on Pomme de Terre. I don't.
Okay. Well, Eric was in here a while ago. I don't look like. I think he's working, so he's probably on his break. But we're going to try to figure out how we can get him on here one of these days. And that's where he fishes. Primarily is Pomme de Terre. Now he does go to Truman and Lake Ozark once in a while, but he primarily fishes Pomme de Terre. And I know that lake is, although they catch a lot of bass and have tournaments over there, and there's a lot of catfish caught. I don't think there's any tournaments amount to anything for catfish over there. It is a crappie lake.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's just so much brush. And, I mean,
the weed line around that lake is unbelievable.
It's a deal. Now, I did win a bass tournament on Truman Lake here a few years ago.
Did you?
Yes, sir. out of that 17-foot John boat.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
But that's I fished in 3 and I won one of them. So but, it was fishing for freedom tournament, the veterans tournament over there.
Oh, that's a great one to do.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
that's a different one, Mark.
Yep.
They have a
Oh,
fishing
this-
for freedom down here in the south part, but it's just bass and crappie, I believe.
Over there it was just bass.
Okay, it may just be bass, and that's why I never got involved with it. I always went to the one in Quincy.
It's a franchise, isn't it, Lyle?
What's that?
Is it a franchise?
No,
A tournament franchise? Oh, it's
No.
not. Okay, my
It is-
bad.
I mean, it's a I don't know if it's a 501c3 or what it is, but
Yeah.
I mean
they're nonprofit, but
it's what a great event.
oh, it is. And that one in Quincy, Darren, you should go up there. You can fish Mark Twain and
Yep.
catch all the crappie and bass you wanted. Another great lake to catch all them fish in. And we go up there, have been going up there for 9 years, I think.
One of my
We
friends
always catfish.
kind of helps with the weigh-in off the fish off of Mark Twain on that one. So, but no, it's and even if you don't fish, you need to mark on a calendar and just attend the ceremony or the dinner before, something like that. Because I mean, you want to talk about a humbling experience. That it's just, I mean, and that's one good thing about the fishing community. It's a very, very, very generous community.
It is.
And it is a very, I'm a veteran, and but the fishermen love their veterans.
They do.
Yes, we do, and thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
Best thing I ever did. But I mean, it's just I don't know. It's a sport that you can hang your hat on and be proud to be part of. Because I'm telling you what, there's some big hearts in this sport.
Oh, absolutely. I was honored to give the missing man speech last year at the Quincy tournament, and we're talking about thousands and thousands of people being there. And I practiced for months.
Yep.
Practiced for months, and I fell apart giving that thing.
Yep.
I consider myself a man's man, a tough son of a bitch. I couldn't handle it.
Cry like
I
a
just
baby.
went to pieces, and I felt like an idiot.
Nope.
But
Absolutely
everybody there come up and said, "Man, that was it was from your heart."
Yep.
And it really is. I mean, that's a tough thing to do. The guy that they used to have doing that up there every year, I don't know how in the world he done it. I never seen him do it. But I consider myself pretty tough old boy.
Right.
I couldn't handle that.
Well, and fishing is such a mechanism to, like for me, fishing is the only place I got that I can go, and it's quiet.
Yep.
And all everything else that you worried about, as soon as you fire that boat up, that stuff's gone. You're fishing.
That's right.
It's the best place to get in touch with your kids.
It is. I agree.
And all of us. I was blessed last fall to take a World War II veteran out crappie fishing last fall, and I tell you what, like you said, you think you're tough or a veteran or whatever, but just sit and listen to these guys, and they'll open up and say stuff fishing that they won't say anywhere else. And his daughter was talking about, I've never heard him say that stuff, but I mean, just these guys, they're just walking history books, and when they're on, and we need to be paying attention.
Yep. Yeah, that's I have a really good friend of mine who runs Kansas City or All-American catfishing tournaments up in Kansas City, and another retired military guy, and Tim has been through some stuff. Dave Swearingen, he's an insurance guy, which will be on our show doing a show on Catfish Weekly about insurance, boat insurance.
Yep.
We had him on last year, and he's going to be gracious enough to do another one, tell you the ins and outs and what's you do and don't do, and ask all the questions about boat insurance. Another veteran. There's just so many, and I know this didn't have anything to do with fishing. I'm sorry to take up everybody's time.
Absolutely, keep going.
A few years ago, I spent a lot of years ago now. I was working in Columbia, and I was eating up there by myself one night because Cindy was down here, and I was sitting in. I can't remember the name of that big smorgasbord place they got up there in Columbia. It doesn't matter. Anyhow, I was in the smorgasbord, and I was in a little table by myself, and there was an Army gentleman on the other side of the room, and he was eating by himself. And I told the waitress, she said, can I get you anything else? And I said, you can go over there and tell that gentleman that if you'd like to, I'd appreciate it if you just come over and eat dinner with me. And he did. And we had the greatest time. And he was there doing something and was going to be there for a few days, and he was by himself. I was eating dinner by myself because Cindy wasn't there. And I thought that they would pretty soon tell us to leave because we'd sat there so long, but they didn't. They just left us there, and we had a great night. And he'll never see me again, and I'll never see him again. But I've never forgot it.
You're both better people for it.
I think so too. I agree.
You guys are having quite an effect on the people on chat. There's people out there that are thanking you for your service and says they're tearing up. People are saying you were the right man. I think Roger said you were the right man for the job, if that's the effect it had on you.
Well, I don't think I could ever do it again. If they asked me, I probably would, but I just that's really a tough job.
Yeah,
it really is.
Well, and I mean, it's kind of if you don't get emotional on something like that, then something's probably wrong.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
It's like these guys, and again, I get beat up for this, and you can look in most of my fishing pictures, and I got a stupid looking grin on my face all the time. Okay. I mean, you catch a big fish, may not be smiling. These guys catch these big old fish with a scowl on their face. I'm like, man,
I got friends like that.
Picture, dude. Come on now. But no, it's just it's good time. It's good time.
Yeah. It's Darin, if you ever get a chance to go to Quincy, to that one up there, or if you decide you would like to go to it, they'll buy you your rooms and stuff to stay up there, and I would be thrilled to take you out and go fishing sometime.
I hope to. My job at the water park, I think that one there is usually in June.
Yeah, first weekend.
And it's hard for me to get away to do that.
I understand.
Hopefully, I'm within a year or two of kind of backing off a little bit and slowing down some at work. And I do, I got a lot of, like I said, I grew up in Louisiana, Missouri, just south of it.
Right.
I was born in Hannibal. All of my family still lives in Hannibal. But, that's kind of my stomping ground up there. But so I absolutely will be there before it's all said and done.
Well, that'd be great if we're still going up there and making those trips up there. You'll always have a ride with me anytime you want one. And we might not catch fish, or we might not catch the winning fish. We'll have a damn good time.
Yep. Oh yeah. No, and that, like I said, the year that we won it, again, we was fishing out of my John boat. And I had an airman, a veteran, that had never caught a bass in his life, okay? And we caught almost 15 pounds at Truman. And it was just, and again, I had to draw on my resources because you have to call in all your favors.
That's right.
So about 2 weeks before that, I go in and talk to Marcus Sikora. I'm like, hey, man, what am I doing over here? And he said, I'll tell you what, D. He said, throw any lure you want to throw as long as it's black. And I threw a black whopper plopper, and he threw a black buzzbait, stayed cloudy all day, and we smashed them. So, it wasn't because of skill. It's because we had good intel. So,
that's right. That's awesome, though. We took a major out, a retired major, and he'd never been in a boat and never fished before.
Yep.
And I take them people out, and it's just like I'm a guide, which I am not.
Yep.
But they don't have to touch anything except the reel. And this guy caught fish all day. We let him catch every fish. He had a blast.
Yep.
We was sitting in the lead for the biggest part of the day, and they come in there, Joe Lucky and them come in and beat us out. But he had such a great time. He didn't know fishing could be that much fun.
Yep. Oh, yeah. No, I know what you mean. And I tell you what, when I'm taking somebody fishing for the first time, I don't sleep the night before. My guts hurt. I get nervous.
Yep.
And it's just all because, you just want them to catch fish.
That's right.
And you just and everybody like, man, you need to. I could never be a guide because I'd be a nervous wreck all the time.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't do it. I don't know how they do it. If I didn't have them on fish from the time they got there till the time we was done, I'd just go crazy because that's your job. That's what you got to do.
Right. Exactly. So, but nope, it's all what a tradition. I mean, it's I don't know. We kind of got off crappie fishing, but I mean,
yeah, we did.
It's been a good night. And
Hey, it's all a part of it, man. It's the lifestyle that we all lead,
this
is definitely a big part of it. It's a welcome part of it, and it's a part to be thankful for. So
That's correct.
I still think crappie's the perfect fish. They're delicious. There's a bunch of them, and they're almost always biting. So, it's
That's true.
I have one last question for you. What's your favorite way to prepare crappie?
I like to. Okay, first thing I think is probably the most important part of the fish. Excuse me, preparing them, and I can't take credit for it because my buddy Jay Garrison showed me this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right before you fillet them, take them and open that gill up, and reach in there with a fillet knife, and cut them gill plates.
Bleed them out,
and then put them back in a bucket of water for about 5 minutes. And when you fillet them, there is absolutely not a single drop of blood in them at all. They're still alive, but there ain't no blood in them. Okay, take them, fillet them, and I like to take and chop up some chopped garlic and melt it in some real salted butter, and take them fillets and lay them out on a wax paper and coat one side of them with that butter and that garlic, and then get a real heavy coat of Zatarain's blackened seasoning. And then take them out there and like a Blackstone griddle or something like that, or anything will work. I got a Blackstone, so cook them on and put that butter and blackened side down. And while they're cooking, coat that other side with butter and blacken them, and blacken both of them up real good. And take and make some fish tacos. My wife makes kind of a homemade slaw, and she makes homemade apple jalapeno jelly, and that's my favorite way to eat them.
Oh, that sounds good to me.
I'm ready to eat again.
Lyle's mouth is like stuck open after listening to that. Did you see him?
Hey,
mine too.
Same way, just like it. A catfish fillet, do the same thing.
Same thing.
If you black them, you won't eat them any other way.
Oh, man, that sounds good.
And a nice cold Bud Light. I don't know if I can say that here or not.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
You absolutely can. Yeah.
You're lucky we're not partaking in them.
Ever drink on? You'll never find a beer in my boat, but you'll find plenty of them on my patio. So
there you go.
I understand completely. I don't drink in the boat either. I don't drink when I drive, but
nope.
I bring one beer. If I get that PB, I crack that one beer open. I'm sorry. That's just something I do.
Hey, that's the way you do it. Yeah, that's fine. I just we've done so many tournaments over the last several years that man, if they find out that you ever touched one, so I just don't do it. I mean, we've done good in a few tournaments, and if you'd have had one in there, they'd accused you of doing it, and you got to pass a polygraph test. So
and you know what? The best way for it to never happen is for it to be a very black and white rule and very enforced.
Yep, agreed.
I mean that stuff is there for a reason.
Maybe I'll try a tournament other than the catfish one. Maybe I'll get in on another tournament. We'll see.
You never know. You might like it.
You guys are piquing my interest.
For some people, it's something that they love and will do for a long time. For other people, they don't like it at all. They'd rather fun fish, and that's perfect too.
Well,
because we got to have both ways.
I got a big mouth, and I don't know. I have trouble keeping secrets. So if I get on a fish, I got to tell somebody. It told me.
I'm the same way.
You need to go talk to your fishing buddy because I just, so, like I said, I don't, and I'm not big on the secret thing,
Yeah. Share the love. Let everybody know what's going on. They can all catch more fish, and everybody's happier.
So, at Lake of the Ozarks, your secret spot is probably 100 other guys'
secret spots.
That's probably right.
There's no place for them to hide with all the electronics. So, I mean,
that's right.
Is what it is. But
up there, everybody's got the best of the best.
There is an awful lot of money spent catching fish.
Yeah, I agree.
But like I said again, I cannot stress enough. Do not let equipment or a lack of equipment intimidate you or keep you from fishing, because a $6 Zebco 303 from Walmart and a couple of gold hooks and 50 cents worth of bobbers will catch just as many, and you get them in the right spot, they'll catch crappie too. So
You
like I
betcha.
said, I mean, don't ever think that and I'm sure you guys have heard this, all of us guys beating around these fancy boats, and you usually get your butt kicked by the old man the John boat 200 feet from the ramp.
Ain't that the truth?
But it does your heart good to see that, don't it?
Oh, it's just and that's the thing. Most of the young guys are not smart enough to listen to them old guys.
They should. They should be paying attention. They got there for a reason.
Yep. So I don't know, but anyway, no, it's just it's an addiction, and I don't. It's just, if I'm not fishing, I'm thinking about it. If I'm at work, I'm thinking about how I can skip out of work and go fishing. But
I understand, Jason.
Darin?
Darin,
the most important fishing thing is my incredible wife, Laura. She doesn't care how much I fish. Usually when, like in the spring or whatever, I'll get a text at 3:30, "You're going fishing tonight?" And 99% of the time it's yes. And she said, "You know what? Be safe. I love you." So, I mean, I got an incredible wife. And if I can add just one more thing, guys, wear your PFDs all the time.
great advice.
And whether you wear an inflatable, wear a regular one, whatever, we lost Jason Charlton a couple of years ago there.
I remember that.
You
Good
remember,
friend of mine.
good buddy, young wife, two great young men for son. Yep. And standing on the ramp that morning with his wife after we had found Jason and the Water Patrol broke the news to her was absolutely the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Way harder than fighting a war in Desert Storm. I mean, you cannot imagine the sick feeling when that happens. And please, 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 guys, if you don't do it for yourself, do it for the people that have to live without you.
Yeah.
If it happens to you.
And he was an accomplished fisherman.
Yep. Even if you're a good swimmer, if you have a heart attack, if you fall out of the boat, hit your head, you're done. So I wear mine from the time I get out of the truck till I get back in the truck. And a lot of times I walk in the house and I've still got it on because I'm just that used to it. But, please, guys, just be safe. Wear them and weather appropriate gear. Let's get rid of them Carhartts and stuff like that and get some real cold weather fishing gear that's not going to drown you when you do that. Yeah. But, again, not to beat a dead horse, we don't need to lose any more fishermen, because a lot of it's avoidable. And above all else, be safe, because that really ruins a fishing trip.
Yep.
Sure does.
That's exactly right. You was talking about Laura being so behind you. I have a similar situation. When Cindy says, are you going fishing today? I say yes. And she says, I'll be ready in 5 minutes.
There you go.
I'll back the truck up for you. So she's going to be in there. She's made the statement a number of times, if that boat moves, she's in it.
Yep.
And she ain't kidding. And it makes it very pleasurable and easy for me to get to go as much as we do.
Yep. And Laura goes a lot, and she'll read, or she just became a new State Farm agent, and she does a lot of her studying for tests and stuff like that. And we about got our kids out of high school. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not rain anymore. So, a lot more evenings with my wife on the water.
Heck yeah.
Fantastic.
The thing about Cindy is, she won't be reading on that book, but she might push you out of the way if there's a bite and you're in the way.
Yeah. Laura likes to read, and she likes to catch. When it's really good, she likes to go beat on them.
That's right.
I know your wife, and she wants to beat you. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Darin, I can't thank you enough for coming on and being part of Panfish Weekly tonight. We appreciate it so much. I would like to get you back on maybe this summer when the fishing's good and you can tell us how it's going.
anytime.
I really enjoy talking to you, Darin. You're a wealth of knowledge and very pleasant to talk to. And thank you again for your service, my friend.
If we don't know what we're talking about, we'll make something up. That's kind of
that's
our just motto. As fun. Yeah, that's right.
That's our motto. We want to thank everybody for watching Panfish Weekly tonight. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night. I'm not sure what's going on. I think there's some stuff happening with 2 or 3 people. I don't really know.
We got the Catfish Conference starting out tomorrow morning. You are announcing it first thing in the morning, 7. What time?
It up 7:15, I believe, in the morning or 7 o'clock, and that'll be going all day and into the evening, and then the following day and Saturday it'll be going to like 3 in the afternoon, I think. I don't have that information laying right in front of me, so be sure to watch that.
There's links all over online that were shared. I shared them out. Check out my group. There's an infographic there. There's great stuff all during the day. I think it ends at about 6. Hey, it ends at 7 o'clock Friday night. So
that's what I thought.
We'll see what happens after that, right, Lyle?
Yes, exactly right. We're not going to announce everybody. Be sure to tune in to Catfish Weekly Monday night at 7. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.